So what's the big plan? What's the big regeneration all about? Is it real? Well, Scampton Holdings Limited was set up in 2018 when the RAF announced that they would be pulling out in 2022. And Peter Hewitt is the chairman of Scampton Holdings and honorary group captain of 601 Squadron. So, Peter Hewitt, is this all a pipe dream, or does Scampton Holdings actually have a plan?
There is a real plan, and it's a very exciting plan. It's about heritage, but it's more than just heritage. It's about regeneration, it's about jobs, it's about space, it's about science, it's about education. All of these things that are so important, and we have a number of, we think we'll be creating well over 1,000 jobs. There is an immediate need for, there will be about 250 jobs that we'll be creating in next year if the plans go through. So earlier this morning I was talking to the Minister, and he was very receptive.
That's Mr. Jenrick, is it?
That's Mr.
The
Jenrick.
Immigration Minister, yeah.
So he was, I think there were a few points he hadn't realised. And one of the things is, from Scampton Holdings' point of view, this is absolutely binary. We cannot have the immigrant centre there and our plans to carry on.
In particular, a continuing active runway.
Absolutely. So if you imagine sort of 1,500 people loosely contained, but not contained, you can't have the Red Arrows be doing low-flying there, and you cannot have an operational airfield. We would just never get permission for it from the CAA.
Have you got the money?
Yes. Yes, we have some wealthy backers.
Right. So, as I understand it, you were very, very close. NDAs had been signed. You were very, very close to this deal with West Lindsey District Council actually being signed, sealed, delivered and announced. And sort of, right at the 11th hour, we hear of this alternative plan. Do you think perhaps it was a lack of knowledge, a lack of publicity about what you were doing that's caused the problem?
Can't help thinking it's a left-hand and a right-hand issue, because on the one hand we've got the Chancellor talking last week in the budget about levelling up, and as has been mentioned, Scampton and Lincolnshire are a very important part of that levelling up, and our sort of £300 million regeneration plan over 10 years or so is a core part of that. And yet on the other hand, there's the Home Office are talking about immigration, and they're talking about 1,500 migrants here, and that will completely scupper our plans for regeneration.
And of course, RAF Scampton, when we think about it, it represents, of course, courage, it represents sacrifice, but it also represents ingenuity and technology. I mean, what 617 were formed to do was to use this incredibly revolutionary new bouncing bomb, as it was called, that had been developed by Barnes Wallis later on night. And in a sense, part of your plans are for it to be a high-tech way of looking to the future.
Oh, totally about the future, about entrepreneurship, about exciting...
And satellites in particular.
Yeah, definitely sort of dual-use type satellites. So one of the first things that will happen will probably the drone port will come into play using one of the existing buildings. So satellite applications catapult, one of the government quangos, are hugely supportive and are very, very keen to get on site. So that would be one of our first projects.
Well, I have to say, Peter Hewitt, my job as a presenter on an Ofcom regulated channel is to provide balance. I'm not even going to try to. I wish you every luck with what you're trying to do, and I really do mean that.
Thank you, Nigel.